Okay everyone, let's be real. The 2026 Mortal Kombat movie just dropped and Shao Kahn is everywhere in the movie and out of the movie. And I don't blame anyone for being so obsessed with Shao Kahn. Every time he walks on screen, we are worried who's going to die next. While that's all fine and dandy, there's more to him than his killer blows and taunts, right? The real horror of Shao Kahn is what his body can do. And in this video, we will be looking at his body like a lab specimen. From his size, his species, his ability to walk off Raiden's attacks, to his healing abilities. We will not keep a single stone unturned. So join us as we break down 12 psychological facts that explain why Shao Kahn survives, even when no one else does. What species is Shao Kahn exactly? Here's the thing, it's not a simple answer. See, the games call him an Outlander, which is like calling me an Earthling. Outworld has so many different species like Shao Kahn, Tarkatan, Zaterans, etc. So calling Shao Kahn just an Outworlder doesn't make sense. It's giving nothing. To better understand what species he is, we should look at the game, right? But here's the thing, throughout the games, his biology has been changing. Like in MK11, he has dragon-like scales running up his arms and legs. He has large spikes literally growing out of the back of his skull, and every finger of his has a claw. Now the game tied all of that directly to his absorption of Onaga, the Dragon King, right? So a lot of fans theorize that maybe Shao Kahn is a mix of Onaga species and the Edian. Because how else do you explain Shao Kahn's body absorbing and adapting to Onaga's power? But then if you notice closely, you will see that he has slit pupils like Shao Kahn. Shao Kahn's are canonically half dragon, so that means he's not half Edenian and half Onaga like some of us assumed. But he is like the Shao Kahn, right? Nope. Because then in MK1 2023 you see black horns growing from his head, and in that game his animality turns him into a Kodiak bear. So like, what is his base genome? Is he half Shokan, half animal? And now with the recent movie it's even more confusing because, okay, look at Shao Kahn. He has glowing red eyes with slit pupils. He is super tall, being played by 6'8" bodybuilder Martin Ford. This version of Shao Kahn is like the mural we saw in the 2021 film. So now, is he half human and half whatever nightmares are made of? But if you look into the movie's lore, you will know that this Shao Kahn is more than 1,000 years old. So how is he this buff? How? I wake up with a new pain every morning, and I ain't even that old. Damn. So basically, considering everything, I have a theory. Since Shao Kahn was Onaga's advisor, maybe he was given godlike powers by Onaga and the other elder gods for being a good advisor, and that's why he is this strong. Some fans think he is maybe a godlike species from Outworld, and that very well could be it. Overall, we don't know for sure, but I am leaning toward half god, half nightmare myself. He was born a sickly child, so how did he end up like this? This is one of the most important aspects of Shao Kahn's lore. So in the MK1 2023 timeline's version, General Shao was born in a proud military family, so of course you know there were a lot of expectations from him. But because he was a sickly kid, he couldn't necessarily meet all of them, so his father put him through brutal physical conditioning from the earliest age possible. Why? Because why not? And it worked. Terrifyingly so, if I might add. See, the body of a child is like clay. You can mold it into whatever you want. Bones become denser when you put repeated mechanical stress during growth. The heart enlarges. The muscle fiber composition shifts towards the type that can handle sustained punishment, basically enhanced endurance. And that's what happens in a normal body under normal environmental conditions. Now imagine the same process inside Outworld, which is a realm saturated in magical energy. The environment itself seems to amplify whatever biological process is already running. And this conditioning fundamentally changed what his body was built to do with stress. Instead of taking damage, every threat started to act like fuel. Every hit made it easier for his body to cope with whatever was coming his way. And by the time we get to MK11, that dragon-scaled millennia-old emperor who conquered realm after realm, it kind of makes more sense why he can do what he can do, right? Why is Shao Kahn so impossibly big? In the 2026 film, Shao Kahn is played by Martin Ford, who is almost 7 feet tall, so he is a Hulk. But still, they had to use significant product work to get him to Shao Kahn's canonical size, and that's because of evolutionary pressure. See, Outworld has been at war, internally and across the realms, for a long time, and this kind of environmental stressor puts pressure on the organisms that live there. It only selects those organisms that can survive. Because hey, the bigger you are, the harder you are to put down, and the longer you survive, you get to pass down whatever made you big in the first place. So Shao Kahn is impossibly big because this selection pressure has been running its course for 1,000 years without stopping. And then you have the structural side to it. See, a body that size doesn't need just bigger muscles to survive. They also need bones that can bear the weight. His skeletal structure has to be something else entirely. Plus, do you see the muscle on that guy? His cardiovascular system has a whole lot of work cut out for it. His lungs too would need a larger volume to oxygenate everything. So in a way, you could say that Shao Kahn is basically a biological marvel. What does his hammer actually tell us about his body? The film gives us a live demonstration of what his hammer does to a human body, and we have seen the hammer in action multiple times in the games too. Cole Young got his skull crushed in with one hit. Jax got the pointed end driven through his chest, and all of this is on the receiving end of the hammer. Think about how hard the body that wields the hammer has to work to get it to that level of speed and acceleration. The faster you swing a heavy object, the more catastrophic the energy transfer will be at impact. The rotational force of that swing would travel through the shoulder joint, down the spine, and through the hips. And in a normal body, that kind of a hammer swing would shred through the tendons, herniate discs, and blow out joints even before it reached the target. But not Shao Kahn, because his connective tissue is operating on a completely different mechanical tier than anything you and I have ever seen. Plus, you have to have grip strength to control that. Have you noticed that if you try to swing something heavy around, it starts to slip? Yeah, because the motion starts to travel. Your grip strength has to be at par with your other muscle groups because usually the hands are the first ones to give out. The hammer just goes to show what a brute force Shao Kahn can be. How does his throat heal mid-fight in the 2026 film? It's terrifying, isn't it? When you see Cole Young land a solid blow to his neck, you feel a sense of relief. The neck is a vulnerable spot because major blood vessels, major airways, and everything is there. If those structures are damaged, then there is no way you are walking out of that alive. But then Shao Kahn just watches the wound close and then he finishes Cole. That is insane, not just for the fear factor, but also from a biological perspective. See, when you get a wound, your body heals it in stages. You first have a clot, there is inflammation, pain, and then the body slowly builds new tissue and remodels it over days or weeks, depending on how severe it is. And a throat laceration is a multi-week process in a medically controlled environment. Anywhere else, throat laceration would be deadly because if you don't bleed out first, you will 100% get an infection and die. And then you have Shao Kahn. He just fixes it in no time. Is it because of his biology? Or is it the Shinnok amulet running a repair system? It's both. He is already someone hard to kill. With the Shinnok amulet, he is basically invulnerable. What does absorbing an entire realm's worth of souls actually do to his body? So, soul absorption has been Shao Kahn's MO for a long time. Throughout the different timelines and movies, he has been consistent with that one power. But you gotta wonder, where does all of that energy go? Well, technically speaking, there is a place where it can all go. See, with how big Shao Kahn is, I doubt his body is running on food at all time. If he were, then we would see him munching all the time on screen. Normal people like you and me have a cap on how much food can be turned into energy in our bodies. Even in Olympic athletes, there is a limit. The soul absorption, on the other hand, gives him an energy reserve that basically bypasses that ceiling, or so it seems. Basically, his body becomes an endless well that uses the souls as food and moves on. We see this in MK3, where he absorbs billions of Earthrealm souls simultaneously, and I have a sneaking suspicion that he uses that to keep his energy up. He is not burning through the energy in one go. He is chipping through it every time while also keeping up his consumption ever so often. So what I'm trying to say is, he is always on a bulk with those soul absorptions. Are those scales and claws in MK11 actually part of his body? This was hands down the coolest character design I have seen for Shao Kahn in a while. Those dragon-like scales and spikes and whatnot. All of those were a part of his body, and from a structural biology standpoint, this also makes sense. See, he absorbed Onaga's essence, so I assume his body adapted to it. Onaga was not like us, so maybe his essence was stronger and hence was much like an upgrade. As a result, Shao Kahn ended up with passive armor in the form of spikes and scale. They are hard, layered, and hard to cut through. If he was difficult to defeat before, he just became impossible to defeat now. But yeah, no, the helmet is not part of that armor guy. He didn't grow that. Why does taunting literally restore his health? I know. You are thinking, what am I even on about right now, right? Surely I'm not going to explain the taunting mechanic biologically right now, am I? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to do. So, okay, our body can be in two different states, resting and active physical activity, which also includes combat. Now, our body decides which state we are in. You know, when you are watching your favorite TV show but can't stop thinking of work, your body is still in active mode. Parallelly, you know when you are just traveling somewhere and without realizing, you pass out for a while on the bus or in the car? That's rest mode. Now, healing requires your system to calm down. You need to reduce stress hormones so that blood can go to the damaged tissue and run repair process. Fighting, on the other hand, does the exact opposite. Your system floods itself with adrenaline, heartbeat spikes up, and blood goes to muscles so that you can perform and repair. Well, you can forget about those. You cannot do both at the same time. So when Shao Kahn is standing there taunting you, he is effectively tapping into his soul energy reserve I was telling you about. He is pulling into that reservoir, getting emergency energy to repair tissues in real time. Plus, the taunt is a good psychological warfare, right? He pisses you off, you make the wrong move, he kills you. If you don't get pissed off and stay calm, well, he revitalizes himself while you are still bleeding. Win-win, right? For him at least. Why couldn't Raiden's lightning kill him, but Katana's fan blade did? So Raiden is canonically a living thunderstorm. His lightning strike would stop a human heart in the first few milliseconds while the tissue is getting cooked from the inside out. Plus, our neural system works on electrical pulses, so if you overload a circuit, it breaks down. That's pretty much how his moves work. But Shao Kahn, who should have been affected by it the most, like most muscular men are affected by tasers, ends up absorbing it. He walks through it. But then, when Katana slices him using her fan blade, it works. Why? Because of the Shinnok amulet. The Shinnok amulet is a divine source of energy. When it is active, Shao Kahn has two wells of energy. One is his own soul-absorbing one, and the other is the amulet. Raiden, when he went against Shao Kahn, was fighting both of them at once. Shao Kahn could just easily use one to nullify Raiden's attack while the other kept him pushing. But once the amulet is gone, Katana's fan blades are enough to reach the biological threshold of Shao Kahn. Raiden was fighting the whole stack, but Katana? She was fighting the man, because he may have godlike powers, but he isn't God. How has he stayed in peak physical condition for thousands of years? If Shao Kahn had a workout routine, I bet he would have made bank being a fitness influencer. He has been around longer than most franchise characters and is still looking fresh. He served under Onaga, poisoned the Dragon King, and then took the Empire. Absorbed realms into the Empire and became the top dog in Outworld, and he held that position for millennia. And he was able to do that because of two reasons. One, the magical environment of Outworld. We already know that normal biological rules don't apply there. I'm sure that the magical environment of the Outworld basically kept his cell repair, wear, and tear at a level that newborn babies have. As we grow older, our cell repair stops and new cell birth rates become slower. But if we can stop the cell aging process and keep the normal cells dividing when needed, then we would remain young. That's the same for Shao Kahn. Plus, he has the soul absorption system that topped up his biological reserve. While the Outworld passively kept its cells at bay, the soul absorption actively repaired the damaged ones. Can he run sorcery and full physical combat at the same time? We have other characters in the Mortal Kombat universe who can do sorcery and physical fights, like Quan Chi or Sindel, but Shao Kahn is an exception. He can throw energy spears directly after hammer strikes or project force blasts mid-brawl without stopping. It's not just because he is tenacious. He can do that because his body doesn't tire. And how can it when it always has the energy from absorbing souls? I doubt that energy produced lactic acid buildup in muscles like ours. Both magical energy and bodily energy drain from the same pool in different ways, and seemingly the well has no end. The two forces have no competition with each other. So Shao Kahn can keep both running smoothly whenever he chooses, and it's not even a strain on his body. He's died multiple times. Why does he keep coming back? Shao Kahn has died so many times. In MK9, he is killed by the Elder Gods, and now we have Katana killing him too. But no matter which timeline you see, Shao Kahn always appears again. Every new game, every sequel, Shao Kahn will return. Now, you could brush it aside saying it's because of narrative convenience. If a villain is iconic, why not just keep bringing it back? It's a lot easier than inventing new ones, right? But here's the thing. If you look into the world around us, there are many biological species that can suspend themselves until they have the right environmental conditions to thrive again, like tardigrades. If you look at them clinically, they are dead. But then, under the right circumstances, they restart again, because death is a cessation of biological systems. But Shao Kahn here, well, he works on magic and not biochemistry, so maybe he has a different definition of death than we do. Maybe some of the energy he has absorbed is in his tissues even after his seeming death, and that's why he returns again. And there you have it, guys, 12 mind-blowing facts about Shao Kahn's body. Bet you guys didn't think we would go down this route, right? Say what you want, the man is a biological marvel, and if Shao Kahn were real, I would love to ask him for his workout routine. But I am sure that if he were my trainer, every time I asked for a break, he would go, "Is that your best?" And that would be one frustrating gym trainer to work with. The 2026 movie truly gave Shao Kahn an interesting arc. If you haven't checked it out yet, you definitely should. Let us know in the comments which facts surprised you the most. Like and subscribe as always, and I will see you guys the next time. Bye!